A Roman governor stood before a crowd, holding the fate of an innocent man. He knew this man had done nothing wrong. He said it out loud. And yet, minutes later, he ordered his execution. Why? What could force one of the most powerful men in Judea to condemn a man he believed was innocent? The answer was far more dangerous than anyone realized. And it didn't just change one life. It changed history forever. Jerusalem, early morning. The city is tense. Crowds are gathering, voices rising. Something is about to happen. At the center of it all stands a man, calm, silent, almost unshaken. Jesus of Nazareth, arrested overnight, dragged through secret trials, now standing before the Roman governor, Pontius Pilate. Pilate wasn't just any official. He represented the most powerful empire on earth. Rome didn't tolerate chaos. Rome didn't tolerate rebellion. And yet, this case felt different, because the man standing before him didn't look like a rebel. No weapons, no army, no resistance, just silence. But that silence had made everything more unsettling, and Pilate could feel it. Something wasn't right, but then something unexpected happened. The religious leaders stepped forward, not asking for justice, but demanding death. Pilate begins questioning Jesus. "Are you the king of the Jews?" A dangerous accusation, because in Roman law, claiming kingship could mean only one thing: execution. But Jesus doesn't defend himself, he doesn't argue, he doesn't beg. And that confuses Pilate even more, because guilty men fight to survive. This man does not. And that's when Pilate says something shocking. "I find no fault in him," he knew. Deep down, he knew this was not justice. This was something else, something darker. But the crowd wasn't backing down. They grew louder, more aggressive, more desperate. "Crucify him! Crucify him!" This wasn't just a trial anymore. This was turning into a riot. And Pilate understood one terrifying truth. If he lost control of the crowd, Rome would hold him responsible. And then, the real pressure began. The religious leaders played their final move. "If you release him, you are no friend of Caesar." That wasn't just a statement, it was a threat, because in Rome, disloyalty to Caesar meant death. Now Pilate is trapped. On one side, an innocent man. On the other, a furious crowd, political danger, and the shadow of Rome. And in that moment, justice collided with fear. So Pilate makes a desperate move. He offers the crowd a choice: a tradition, release one prisoner, freedom, or death. On one side, Jesus. On the other, a known criminal, Barabbas. Surely the crowd would choose the innocent man, right? But what happened next shocked everything. "Give us Barabbas! Crucify Jesus!" The crowd had spoken, not for justice, but for blood. And this is where everything changed. Pilate does something symbolic. He washes his hands in front of them. "I am innocent of this man's blood." But here's the truth. Washing hands doesn't erase a decision. So why did Pilate really order Jesus' death? It wasn't because he believed Jesus was guilty. It wasn't because of evidence. It wasn't even about law. It was about fear. Fear of losing power. Fear of political backlash. Fear of Rome. Fear of the crowd. Pilate wasn't choosing between right and wrong. He was choosing between truth and survival. The most powerful man in the room was also the most afraid. Because sometimes, authority doesn't come from strength. It comes from pressure. And when that pressure builds, even the strongest leaders break. Jesus is led away. The crowd begins to fade. The noise slowly disappears. But one thing remains, a decision that echoes through history. Pilate tried to avoid responsibility, tried to step back, tried to stay neutral, but neutrality was the real decision. And that raises a question, not about Pilate, but about us. When truth stands in front of you, what do you choose? Because on that day, an innocent man was sentenced to death. Not because of guilt, but because fear was louder than truth. And if you were standing in that crowd, would you have stayed silent? Or would you have spoken up?